existing condition. And let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem. Some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that.
Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here, and as you saw from the previous clip, this is something that has confused me from the onset of this whole crisis and with the virus and everything. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper for this video. This is going to be actually my last video for quite a while about the virus, just to let everyone know. And it's not because I don't want to look into finding the truth or anything like that, but I would just have to say that I just want to focus on other things in life. So, and I'm hoping that I'm able to do that more. And, I do believe somewhat we get what we focus on in some ways in life. So if I focus on how everything's all messed up and it's all a conspiracy, blah, 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 which I'm not saying it is, then, I'll see evidence more of that. So that's just how life works to me. I don't know. You could say it's supernatural or manifestation, whatever. I just think that that's how life works as far as when you're living life, you can focus on different things. I know people that don't even focus on the virus. They're so wrapped up in the other things and they're living their life and relatively normally. You could argue that they're whatever type of person because they're not always following the guidelines, but whatever, don't throw stones if you're in glass houses and tell people that, especially people that are saying that people can protest, but also there's only one kind of protest you can do, blah, 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 whatever. Anyways, so on to the video. This is an article from April 8th, it was a while back. Americans who die infected with coronavirus will be classified as a COVID-19 death even if it wasn't the cause. And I'm saying the word, whatever. Briefing, Deborah Burks. This is what she said. Count the deaths of people who died with, despite other countries not doing the same. There are other countries, blah, blah, blah. You already saw it. So you go to this link, and here is remarks by President Trump, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Whatever. I'm not going to read all this. But it's interesting to think about how far we've come where, with regards to this and how people are still just, I don't know. It's crazy stuff. It's been so, okay. I don't even want to talk. So someone actually complained on another video that about the Frontline Doctors video. And all I got to say about the Frontline Doctors video, I'm not denying that this drug has any effect. I'm not saying that. It might. And there has been that cover up in the Lancet a couple of weeks ago or months ago. And that was pretty ridiculous, right? I'm going to watch more MedCram videos about that because I think he has a handle on what's going on with all that. So just in case someone says that I don't care about this drug, I just see it as kind of part of this QAnon kind of nonsense, a lot of the time. So that's why I don't give it that much attention. There's other treatments that we'll find out. Who knows? Maybe I will be convinced by it. But either way, it's this was April, and I don't know where Brooks's comments are, but it's pretty weird, and it's pretty weird what's going on with this. And in light of that, let's do a little bit of a search here. I'm gonna look here. Oops. So I'll probably censor out that part. So I'm gonna look up influenza deaths. How deadly was it 2019? How many people died in the flu? Blah, blah, blah. All right, let's not even look at that. So the other day I looked up influenza deaths and I found pneumonia deaths. And this is what this video is going to focus on. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to look up something else. And this is something that I found that is evidence that they did not count deaths necessarily before the same way, like in 2009. So I'm going to look this up. This is how I found this out. I'm just going to show you my method of research here. Of course, we're not supposed to research things anymore, according to that one article that came out a couple weeks ago. Corbett Report talks about it. Don't do your own research. Leave it to the experts. Don't try to figure stuff out for yourself. Well, whatever. All right. So, all right. Where is this? I'm trying to find the Wikipedia. It's taking me a while. I will be doing this. Okay, so let's look up famous deaths from pneumonia. Look this up. List of pneumonia deaths. Here we go. This is a list of famous people that died from pneumonia. The reason why I'm showing this is because this is kind of what. So I'm showing this list because this is kind of something I've been doing some research on, and it's kind of because we saw that Herman Cain had died from the virus, and he was 74 years old. I don't know if he was in great health or what kind of health he was in, but it's, people are using that as kind of a litmus test, like, oh, you're not supposed to, oh, you don't care about if you're anti-lockdown or if you're anti-social distancing. If you question some of the guidelines, you're automatically, because they pull out Herman Cain. So this is what happened before. This is through history. And I'm just going to go to the more recent ones because the more recent ones are more interesting. It just puts things in perspective. So this guy was 52. Okay, we're going to look him up. Died in 2016. Doesn't say how he died, but this is going to get pretty interesting. I'm going to show a lot of this on this video because I think it's probably good to keep things in perspective. But I'm not saying that this virus, the C virus, is only going to kill people that are above a certain age and we shouldn't care or something like that. No, it's not that. So Gatorade shot, a football coach, George Allen, let's see, died in 1990. All right, so let's see. All right, indirectly. Okay. So he had pneumonia. Heart arrhythmia. Okay, said arrhythmia. So, okay, that's not really a good one. Okay, who's this? Arthur Anderson. Deaths. Okay, it just says he died in his home. Okay, so these are supposed pneumonia deaths. And they're a lot of stuff. So, pneumonia from immune system. Okay, okay. Alright. So, my question is, this is listed as the cause of death, pneumonia, from metastatic paraganglioma. I don't know how to pronounce that. Died at 37. Wow, So, person that died at 37, we see that stuff in the news about people that died from the virus that are young. Okay, it doesn't really say, just collapsed, So he just collapsed. It doesn't really say. Doesn't really say, and then he had pneumonia for 7 months. Okay, so it doesn't really say, it could be other immune deficiencies and stuff. Fred Astaire, okay. Well, we all know Fred Astaire, unless at least people are trying to cancel him too, which they probably are, or whatever. I know that Madonna song that mentions him, it's funny. Okay. Died of pneumonia, okay. So, what's interesting is, let's see, there was someone I was looking for in here, and I'm just going to find her in a second here. Let's see, musician, no, that's not right. I'll find her in a second here. This is really interesting. This is kind of what made me started thinking about this in a more serious way, because this is really bizarre. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that, like, I'm going to find her here somewhere. Alright, so all these people supposedly died of pneumonia for various reasons. Okay. 2009, that's interesting. Double pneumonia. Wow, that's crazy. Alright, let's find out death. Acute respiratory distress syndrome. That's interesting. Use of drugs and alcohol. Okay, so, alright. We all know Freddie Mercury. Okay. So look at these people that are dying from pneumonia at early ages. We don't have a bunch, just as a note, we don't have a bunch of fear articles about how someone could die of pneumonia. We just see that the C virus killed them, in a short amount of time or whatever. A little over 24 hours. Well, that was AIDS, of course. Yeah, that's horrible. And that was a great loss. So look at this. So, I guess there was drugs with that. Okay. So I'm looking for a particular person. This is interesting, though. Now, this is kind of interesting. Ronald Reagan. So he had Alzheimer's disease, but he's listed as dying from pneumonia. So, I guess that's kind of the opposite of the logic that I have with regards to this. I don't know. So it's interesting. Where is it showing this? And I guess that does cause complicated by Alzheimer's. Reagan, it does say Alzheimer's disease, but it also says pneumonia. So this is what they used to do, and I remember this clearly. So if someone would have died of the C virus and it was complicated by something else, or vice versa. So that's kind of the line where people were saying, but just imagine if this is just one thing, right? With the C virus, it would be just Alzheimer's or just pneumonia, and that's the problem that people have with this, is that why they question why they're counting these deaths all together. But this is going to get more interesting as I show this more. This is going to be a few. Okay, this is horrible. I don't even like to see that. It makes me mad. I don't like to see that because he's kind of an inspiration. It's Chuck Schuldiner. So I'm going to find this out here. Paul Tsongas, I remember him. Wow, 55. It's pretty young. Let's look him up. Alright, so... Oh, okay, so you have cancer. Okay, never mind. Alright. I just wanted to see what... I just didn't know. That was all my thing. So I'm going to look this up. So this is going to be an interesting experiment here. Let's just watch this. Died from swine. Musician. Found something a while back. Okay, here we go. So I don't know who this is. Someone I'm not familiar with, but Trish Keenan dies from swine. Has died of pneumonia. Wait, which one is it? Okay. Okay. It's horrible. Okay. So yeah, there's some famous people that died from swine flu too. Okay, let's look this up. Alright, so I'm going to look up the Wikipedia. This is the one. So she died from pneumonia. She didn't die from swine flu, or did she? Let's see. So deaths from swine. Let's look up deaths from... Alright, I'm going to look this up. If I can find this. Oh, so did they change that? I don't know. Relating to complications from H1N1. All right, because I think it just said pneumonia before, but I just could be tripping anyways. Anyways, what is my point in doing this video, and what am I talking about here? So the problem with this, with counting deaths like this, is that they didn't, you know, the death certificate would have said pneumonia complicated by swine flu. It wouldn't have said just swine flu, or it wouldn't have been counted in the death totals necessarily. Because that's what Burke said in the video. I mean, it's different, obviously, now. And there's a lot of evidence of that. And, you know, another reason why I'm doing this video is just because, just looking at how this kind of, oh, chicken pox, wow. Okay. It just makes more sense to talk about this in the context of, I would bet, let's see, this says pneumonia. So all these people say it died of pneumonia. So when people say that people die of just the C virus, I mean, where do we draw the line between complications or of something else? Or, you know, if someone has Alzheimer's and they die of the C virus, and then they catch pneumonia, which one do they die of? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me that we're counting these things, you know, as far as this is a list of people that died from pneumonia. So let's look up something else here. This is just kind of me going deep down this rabbit hole into this whole thing. All right, a lot of people in China, wow. You notice something too? You notice something here? You notice something? I think I see a pattern here, right? So, okay, here we go. I have no idea. All right, well, there was one person. Oh, well, look at this. Wow, autoimmune disease, okay. It doesn't mean they deserve, you know, anybody deserves to die, but, I mean, look at this. All right, who's this? Oh, okay, wow, this is mostly in March. Wow, this is really crazy. It doesn't say. Alright, let's find someone that's, let's find just a random person that's in there earlier. See, the whole pneumonia thing had a lot more people that died in their 30s and 40s and 50s than, look at like 90, 88, all this stuff. Okay, so it keeps going. Alright, let's go to the end of this. Because I want to see if, you know, this wave of young people is supposed to be dying from this is true or not. A few people in their 50s, but India, wow, that's messed up, okay. Age 78. Doesn't say anything about any pre-existing conditions like that other dude. Not that it has to, I'm just saying. A lot of people, there are people in their 60s too, which is pretty unfortunate. I don't think a 60s is that old. So, but obviously it is older, but. And it's mostly 70s and 80s and 90s. I was going to go forward a little bit more. List of more famous people. There's a lot of people. Oh, I've heard of him. We'll check him out. So you probably saw about him being a younger person that died from it. Wow, that's messed up. He had a pretty bad case, it looks like. But you didn't hear about the, that one musician that from the band Broadcast that died from swine flu. You didn't hear that much about her. But you heard about this dude. He was on every magazine cover. So, I don't know. It's a weird situation. But I do notice that, most of these people are way older than... for the most part, they're way older. But, there's been a few musicians and stuff that died too. Let's see. But yeah, you didn't hear about... Okay, there's a 41-year-old. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's the same one. Oh, I was looking at the same dude. All right. I'm trying to find someone else. A convict. Okay, who's this? Allegedly. Okay, whatever. What do you mean, allegedly? I'm trying to find someone younger, again, in America. Oh, Herman Cain. All right, let's look him up. By the way, I'm not a fan of... I wasn't a fan of his politics, but... Oh, okay. In 2006, Cain was diagnosed with stage 5 colon cancer. Or 4. Stage 4. And metastasis to the liver. 30% chance. Wow. But he opposed masks. Okay, whatever. Damn. Yeah. Well... Whatever. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not saying that... Well, I'm not saying that this didn't have anything to do with it. It's just, you'd be perfectly healthy and die, right? So, of course not. For the most part, people that have pre-existing conditions like that will have a worse outcome. So yeah, it's hard to quantify what this all means, all this information, but it tells me that there's just like a lot of confusion going around with regards to how things are being counted. I mean, if we're not, you'd say, with complications from, like a lot of these people say, with complication, this with that, the death certificate. So that's what's confusing to people. They need to, I think they need to clarify why they're doing this. And this is one of my questions that I have. Let's look up something else here. I'm going to actually look up people who died from swine flu. Again, I was going to look that up. So I'm not going to look that up because that's stupid. And there are some people that say, there are some people that actually say that more people died from that than were counted. Oh, this is interesting. So look at this. This is an interesting article. So, 2009 swine flu death toll 10 times higher than thought. Right, people were wearing masks, not in the United States. 203,000 people worldwide, 10 times higher. Right. Looking only at deaths, that pneumonia may have been caused by the flu. The researchers found that when the H1N1 deaths due to other causes other than respiratory diseases are included. Okay, so that is proof positive right here. So this paragraph is basically proof positive that the way they're counting things is different now. And I could show more documentation on this too, if people were requesting this. But I'm not going to. The researchers took only into count deaths caused by respiratory diseases. However, people can die from bacterial infections that happen after they've been weakened by the flu. as they can with the current virus. The H1N1 virus can also kill by worsening existing problems. So as high as 400,000. Interesting. So that's a really interesting article. I don't know. I don't think that answers the question, but it definitely answers the question that they're doing it differently. Also, so here's a little more information about what this video has been all about. And I got this submitted as far as I had an independent researcher kind of do this as part of an article that I did. So I'm going to read this out all the way. COVID-19 related deaths. Several countries are struggling to accurately count or record the number of deaths resulting from COVID-19. As of mid-April, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention encouraged states to start recording untested cases but likely COVID-19 casualties in accounting. And that's another thing entirely. That's not what I'm talking about in this video, but obviously it's it could be problematic. On the other hand, Spain is counting all deaths of people who tested positive for COVID-19 in this toll. However, people that die in care homes or at home were not tested, which may result in underestimation by 15 to 20,000. Of course, there's people that say that it could be undercounted. It could be both. Why can't it be both? Why certain countries use the means they chose, it's rather unclear. It's also clear whether these counts were being reported as COVID-19 related, when in fact the patient died of a pre-existing condition. According to World Health Organization guidelines, any death due to COVID-19 should not be attributed to another disease, for example, cancer, and should be counted independently of pre-existing conditions that were suspected to cause a severe course of COVID-19. Interesting. Chain of events should also be included in medical form of acute respiratory distress syndrome or pneumonia were experienced due to COVID-19. These should be included. Additionally, World Health Organization recommends separately classifying deaths that may be influenced by COVID-19 but was caused by another disease. For example, if a person had COVID-19 but was killed in a car accident, may cause death should be classified as a car accident, not COVID-19. Of course, we've heard about that infamous motorcycle accident. I think it was in Ohio where they did count it as a COVID-19 death. I'm sure there's isolated cases of that. Of course, who knows? In the event that COVID-19, related consequences of the accident, how does that happen? Then COVID-19 may be reported in Part 2 of the document. Okay, so let's say it's no complete recovery. And I've heard about this. This is kind of problematic as well. Now, I have heard of the United States counting cases, deaths, when there's complete recovery, which is a little scary. Besides these guidelines, there are wide variations in countries and probably even states, honestly. I'm just adding that. Which deaths make it the official figures. In regards to influenza, the number of deaths is based on estimates. Statistical models are used to determine the mortality that occurs in a given population during the winter months when influenza viruses are circulating and compared with the baseline data during the rest of the year. It is well known that most influenza deaths occur in the elderly who already may suffer from one or more chronic condition. What is striking is that influenza virus testing is not completed in most of the patients, and their deaths are ascribed to a pre-existing medical condition. Number 3. In contrast, deaths resulting from pandemic influenza is confirmed through testing. When a patient who has pre-existing medical conditions is confirmed as being H1N1 positive, their death is not ascribed to the pandemic virus, but to their underlying medical condition, skewing the data. So let's look that up. That's number 3. This is World Health Organization swine flu. All right. This is where my, most of my questions come from, because it's so weird. So this researcher, she got this from this article from the World Health Organization. In case you don't believe me, here you go. So, efforts to assess the severity. Okay. So, excess mortality. Of course, excess mortality that's debated too a lot of the time right now with this pandemic. Okay, here we go. Although influenza can worsen these conditions and contribute to death, testing for influenza viruses is not done in most cases, and deaths are usually attributed to an underlying medical condition. So, we got it. That is the underlying question that I have about this. Why even in, okay, here's where she got the other part. Okay. When testing confirms many doctors record these deaths due to the medical condition, not to pandemic virus. These cases are usually also missed in official statistics. All right. So this is what's really weird about this is that they don't, when these medical experts come out and say all this stuff, they don't really explain what their decision was influenced by or how or why. So that's why you have these conspiracy theories and theorists say all this stuff, because like they'll say one thing, they'll do another, and then something else will come out. You know, they were predicting 60,000 deaths. I don't know if people remember. They have a short memory. They're originally predicting 60,000 deaths because of social distancing, whatever, in America. And I don't know. You know, there's a lot of contention with that, of course. Let's look at what the ramifications of this would be. So, obviously, I've shown you that they did not count all the deaths from swine flu, or could have been caused indirectly by swine flu during that pandemic. But now they're counting all these deaths from COVID, no matter what the pre-existing conditions are. The ramifications for that are that there were a lot more deaths during earlier pandemics that were undercounted, and now, for some reason, they're counting everything that is, you know, indirectly caused or exacerbated by this pandemic. And as I've said before, you know, with the pneumonia information, there's someone dies from pneumonia. It could be another cause that caused the pneumonia. But with this virus, there's just, it could be another cause, but they're still listed as dying from the virus. So why does that make sense again? What are we trying to do with this? That's what confuses me. I want people to answer this question, but I have proof positive in this video that there are a lot of questions that are relevant that they have not answered. So basically, when I did this research as far as all this stuff goes, I was kind of expecting that it was going to be pretty close to the truth. And once I figured it out, it did disturb me. Now, is it disturbing because I don't know the reasoning behind all these different ways of counting cases? And we're not even going into the probable cases thing, because that's covered by other videos that you can watch. I could link something in the description about from this Collins County debate, and the account, these people, this epidemiologist that went to these city officials, or these county officials, not city officials, and they were debating whether or not how they would count probable cases. This is very relevant. The Atlantic has actually done some good journalism about this crisis as far as how they're counting things, from not the end that you would think, like just the panic media is like, they're undercounting, there's more that died than there's more people. Now there could have been more people that died, obviously. I'm not saying that. In some areas, obviously there could be some undercounting going on, but the way that they're counting cases, the way that they're counting deaths, the problem I have with it is there's no explanation for it. So when we do these things arbitrarily or otherwise, the conspiracy theorists and the right-wing, MAGA people or whoever will call into question these things, and it will feed the conspiracy theories. If there was an explanation about why they count deaths the way they are, they do. I mean, if they counted deaths the way they do, why don't they explain why this changed since the swine flu and influenza and so forth? Why do they count if someone goes in the hospital with a heart condition and they die from the virus, that as the virus death instead of just a heart condition death, even though it's just something exacerbated, like you see in these articles from the past before this virus, it's exacerbated by pneumonia or Alzheimer's, exacerbated by the flu or whatever. So it calls into question what is going on, and that feeds the agenda of the people that are actually fear-mongering in power, saying the worst, like Neil Ferguson, like the worst possible outcome people. it feeds their, projections. Like, a person will believe it wholeheartedly without question, as far as if you see these numbers that are possibly inflated in comparison to, how they counted things before. Whereas if you look into see these things in context, it looks a lot different. And that's really the questions that people have. So I'm not, people think that these kinds of questions are downplaying the virus. And I don't think that's true. I think I'm actually just asking questions. I want people to have the right information and the right, so we can actually like figure things out, whether it be defeating the virus or mitigating it, or just getting back to normal as a world and nation. And it has nothing to do with me underplaying or downplaying the virus. It's just questions that I have with regards to how it's being handled as well. Now, it's coming from the other side and the more skeptical side, questioning experts and authority and all that. And keep in mind, I lived through 9/11 and something seemed fishy about it. That's the way it went. And when things seemed fishy about it, it's like a lot of the language had changed that the media was using about what happened with 9/11. It seemed like it was all, you've probably seen the Sinclair broadcasting thing where they're all reading the script that, they were supposed to defend Trump or whatever. It seemed like that, but it was about, 9/11 changed everything, or, we have to stand together to fight the terrorists, and, there was a lot of fear mongering in 9/11. Now, 9/11 was a terrible tragedy that killed, 3,000 people, and probably countless more that had health conditions because of, firefighters had them, fighting the fires and stuff. So, am I downplaying 9/11 by questioning some of the things that happened with 9/11, or am I just actually giving credence to that? We need to know all the information so we can make judgments about policy or how to, look at these things in the future. I think it's the latter. I don't think I'm downplaying 9/11 by questioning. No, I almost said change everything by questioning it. I just think that there are a lot of unanswered questions that were in regards to that, and the same goes with the virus. Because why change the way that the medical, information is being presented or handled? What's the reason? Give me a good reason. If someone told me a good reason that was rational and explained things very well, I would accept it. But I don't accept people saying I'm downplaying the virus or I'm a COVIDiot or whatever, just because I'm questioning things as far as how things are being calculated or tabulated. That brings me to another thing. So this is what happens, and this is what has happened throughout this whole thing, the last 5 or 6 months, 5 months that I've read about all this stuff. I'll read something in an article that's a little bit more, less mainstream, I'll just put it that way. And it's not really it's not any kind of InfoWars or conspiracy bullshit, right? It's just maybe it's some interview with some more, a little bit more underground, or a little bit somewhat underground media source that interviews someone from a university that has this set opinion about something, or epidemiologists from some other country or something like that. They will make a statement, and then sometimes either people wholeheartedly ignore it, or they will downplay what the person's saying. Case in point, the Stanford studies. So we had these Stanford studies in May of the serological, testing as far as the antibodies and everything. We know the antibody things aren't the most always the most accurate, but they said, it could be 10 times to 80 times more people that had the virus than initially thought, or were immune. So immediately BuzzFeed did an article that's attacking these doctors, from Stanford that were on this team, going against lockdowns, and some of them asked Trump not to have a lockdown and all this stuff. So they were attacking all this stuff. So by default, when you're attacking these doctors and researchers, what comes to mind? oh, their research is flawed about these antibodies and all this stuff, or serological tests. Oh, not that many people are asymptomatic as thought, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's just kind of the logical leap that one would have from, you know, reading these articles. However, you know, just the other day, we see New York Times, all these Atlantic articles about, oh, well, there were many more people that are asymptomatic than once thought. Ugh. So I've been reading this shit for 5 fucking months, pardon my French, and now we're talking about it. Now I'm vindicated because I was reading these articles months ago about all this shit, and now they're just like coming to terms with the fact that it's true. So that really pisses me off. And there's other things about it too. There's many different things. You know, the vitamin D thing, as I mentioned in other videos. There's all sorts of things. I watch these channels, you know, Unheard, UNHERD, and they interview all sorts of epidemiologists, including the infamous Neil Ferguson. And, you know, they have these people like Sunetra Gupta, who said a lot of these similar things about asymptomatic carriers, about mitigation of the virus, about how it's, you know, it's pretty funny because, you know, numbers are used by both sides of this argument to bolster their political points. But Sunetra Gupta was right about a lot of things, about how, you know, how many asymptomatic people there are, how people are probably naturally, there were other people on that channel. I think it was Sakura was the doctor, or people are already immune to it, all this stuff. And now we're seeing articles about it. You know, there were people commenting on these things on Twitter articles. You know, Michael Levitt is continuing to be attacked for his predictions. Now, some of his predictions were totally off base. I'll give you that. But could it be that Levitt could, in the future, be more correct, but it's just their timeline skewed or messed up? I think it could. It's a very well, you know, thing to question, or, you know, to ask. So that's really my point in all these videos, is that I was suspicious about a lot of what was being said from the beginning, because just the way that these people are handling it and talk about it just seems suspect to me, because of 9/11, because of other things like that. Because I knew 9/11 there was so much that wasn't being said and was being used as this political tool, and still, you know, we're still finding out more about how much the United States knew, all this stuff. So it gave me some of those weird heebie-jeebie feelings and intuitions, like, oh, something's weird with this. They're like hiding something, or something. There's something more. There's some agenda there. Because that's how I felt with 9/11, and that's how I still feel. I'm ostensibly a 9/11 truther in certain ways, and a lot of people laugh at that movement now. But let's remember that, you know, 2004, 2005, a lot of the left were becoming 9/11 truthers because they knew there was something wrong with it. And I think they did polling at the time that they thought Bush knew, you know, as far as like by the time 2006, 2007 rolled around, they're like, that's why Obama won, because George Bush was this failed president that ruined the economy, and also he was responsible for 9/11 in some direct or indirect way, and the war in Iraq. So when people talk about this stuff, they have to keep it in historical context with me, because I see these things, I see these patterns in the media, the way that things are reported, the way that things are sensationalized, the way that things are written about, the way that people are shamed for having a different opinion, even if they're experts, quote unquote. Michael Levitt is an expert. He's not an expert at epidemiology, but Sunetra Gupta sure as hell is, you know? And so that's, and, you know, the Stanford team, which is, you know, numerous people, including Jay Bhattacharya and some others, I mean, they were just totally bashed in Twitter, on their, you know, comments on articles for having these opinions. And now it's just basically gospel, you know? It's basically gospel. Oh yeah, there's so many more asymptomatic cases than we initially thought. Oh, why many scientists are saying this? They've been saying it for 5 fucking months that this shit would happen, that they would find this out. What the fuck is wrong with you people? What the fuck is wrong with you people? Why are you so fucking smug and dense? So this is my last video about the virus for a long time. I'm sick of doing them. I'm pissed off about this type of stuff with the media and with the sensationalism and the politicization of it. So Bechara's anti-lockdown to some extent, or what's his name, the Greek doctor of Greek descent from Stanford, Ioannidis. He was against the lockdown, or he emailed Trump allegedly, but he's wrong about the virus. Oh, you can't trust him. Oh, wait a second, he was right. Oh no. Oh, I guess I can't. I can't retract what I said. I'm just going to say this is new information about the virus that some or many scientists are saying now that you could be naturally immune. Oh, well, I didn't know about that 5 fucking months ago watching YouTube, these scientists from Stanford. No, I never knew that. So that's all I got to say. Please subscribe, share this video. That's all.